Apologies if this week's video looks a little different. My main camera is out of battery and I've been having a power outage off and on for the last 2 days. I film on Saturdays or Sundays. I waited to film until today and then the power went out again. And like a fool, I had not charged my camera batteries. So because of all that, I am filming on my phone. Now, something you may notice is that the Ableton Push is turning on. And this is because, as you may know, the Push 3 or Push Standalone has a built-in battery. For a few years now, I haven't really cared about having a built-in battery because I usually have power and I'm usually at home near wall power. However, it's times like these where I really realize how important it is to have a battery. And I'm really grateful that I've had some music gear I've been able to use without needing wall power. The standalone Push is unique because most of its contemporaries don't have a battery. The MPC Live 2 does, but the MPC 1, the Machine Plus, all of the Electron boxes, the Akai Force, none of these have a battery. And like I said before, that generally doesn't matter too much to me, but when the power goes out, it is nice to have a device that you can at least do something musical with. And because of the power in this device, you actually can do quite a bit. Now, I do believe the battery is only about 2 hours, so I haven't been like constantly making music without power, but between reading or playing games on my ROG Ally or trying to do other things outside of the house, it's been nice to be able to do some music stuff without wall power. Yesterday, for example, I made a new preset using Swarm, the new instrument in Ableton Live 12, and adding an auto filter, roar, and reverb to create a totally new synth sound. Having this level of control on the device really does turn Ableton's software instruments into almost like a hardware synthesizer toolkit, which sounds a little hokey and like maybe exaggerating, but honestly not really. When you don't need wall power and you don't need a computer, it really does actually feel like using a cool digital synth to make new sounds that can then be part of whole compositions. And like I said before, there are some limitations here because I can't turn this into a single group, an instrument rack, on device. I would have to save the project, export it to my desktop when I have power again, turn it into a device, and then I could have that device back on here as a single instrument rack. But I can still make a new chain of synths, effects, etc. into a single device, or into a chain rather, and use it on this device, even if I can't turn it into a usable, savable, and transferable preset without a computer. And while I don't think this is a feature I'm gonna have to use all the time, because I hopefully should have power most of the time given what I'm paying for my power bill, it is awesome to have been able to make something with this, or just play around with sound in the middle of being like, what am I even supposed to do when so much of my life is plugged into power. And before I show you this patch I made, I do just want to thank everyone for all the kind words on last week's video. That whole thing with the content ID on the beat that I made has been really frustrating, and I don't really have a fix for it, but it was really cool how many people reached out and commented and were just so kind who listened to my music and checked that out. Shout out to Jade Wee for commenting. She mentioned moving everything to Patreon. Ironically, I killed a Patreon I had half a year ago. I may look back into using Patreon now that you can put all your videos on it, but we'll see. To me, if I switch to Patreon, it's kind of like siphoning off the people who are here. I don't know how you build a whole new audience on Patreon, so I'm probably not going to kill the channel, YouTube channel, anytime in the imaginable future, but I am still really frustrated that content ID thing happened. It really shouldn't have happened, and I'm still not totally sure what I'm supposed to do about it, but it is what it is. That said, if you haven't yet, I would really appreciate if you checked out my album, There's Something Better. It's on streaming services, it's on Bandcamp, linked in my description. And let's check out this preset I made and play around with it a little bit. So you can see I used Swarm here, I used Meld here, using a Swarm oscillator and a noisy oscillator. And I did a bunch of stuff with this Meld. So there's a really cool mod matrix where you can select different targets and then affect them with different LFOs and spread and the amp, mod, etc. And what's cool is if you're in a section that isn't already added to the matrix, you could mess with the knob and then at the same time hit add to matrix. And now that parameter is very easily modifiable with this matrix. On the PC, it's more of a grid that you can look at, which I've shown in my Ableton 12 video about Meld, But on here, I think this is a really elegant way of giving you the same feature set when you can't show the same amount of information on the display. So I did apply a few different things to the matrix and apply a few different LFOs to different parts of meld. And then I added an auto filter, which is set to sync. It's a triangle, and it's a sync on 8ths. Let's see if I can show you. Yeah, it's a saw down, sorry. So that adds that filter. Roar is on here, the new distortion plugin. And I added an old reverb effect. This is just the original Ableton reverb with a pre-delay of 18.7 milliseconds, a little bit of filtering, some stereo image changes, room size changes, decay change, and 30% wet. Pitch going on there. But I think it's a fun little sound. Get like a bass note going and some high notes. This is all in standalone. Again, it's not like the most amazing preset ever, but it's my preset that I made when I was able to do some sound design when everything else in my house is without power, including my fridge, my air conditioning, my heating, bathroom lights. Yeah, that's been a bummer, but at least I can still make sounds. I recently finished this book, kind of a side note, kind of a tangent, but Rick Rubin's The Creative Act, A Way of Being, this guy right here. And I really can't recommend it enough to anyone who's a creative person, who is a musician, a writer, filmmaker, whatever you do. If you care about creativity, if you are an artist, this book has actually been really inspiring to me and has in some ways changed how I do things, but also just really validated a lot of the ways I've decided to do things. For me personally, as an artist, it's really important to find balance between my music, between my day job, between YouTube, and it's not always a perfect balance. There are weeks like this where I don't have the best idea and then the power goes out and I don't know what I'm supposed to do, but I am committed to making something every week. And so I hope this was interesting to watch. If you have any questions about the Push 3, feel free to ask in the comments. If you want to see other videos about the Push 3, I have a whole playlist with Push videos. And I am certain to come back with something more interesting next week. So again, apologies about the power outage. I really wanted to do more this week. And hopefully the video looked okay, shot on the phone. I hope you have an awesome week ahead. And thank you again so much to everyone who's liked and subscribed and supported my channel. I'll see you next week.